Okay, we cut our holes in the floor for the hoop where we marked them out. You can see it's dark. The pole angles, so make an oval. That way you can drop your poles down to do your welding at the top. Do the same in the front. What I should be able to do is my roof hoop should be able to be welded on there, so I won't have to worry about the back, but I'll have to worry about the one that runs down here. So, and then I set the seat in place so I could go ahead and mark where my seatbelt hoop bar goes. And we've made brackets over here. There's one. I'll put the light down here. We made our brackets. So what we can do is, you see the hole, and we'll mount it right in there. It's hard to see, but what you'll do is you'll do a tack like right there so you can grind it off, and a tack down at the bottom so you can grind it off to drop everything down. You don't want to weld that in place because you'll be able to weld everything else together and then drop the whole thing down and finish your welding on spots that you couldn't get to. So I'll bring you back when I get the hoop and everything out and welded together and show you what I did. Alright, we pulled our main hoop out and our roof hoop, and I have these on the floor over here. This is how I set it up to weld this all together. I put a level on either side so I can make sure the poles are straight. And once I got down here, I figured that once it was flat on the floor, it wouldn't match up. So I found a board that's about 3/4 of an inch, and that brought me up kind of perfect. I did have to stick other shims in, and I use shims in the front, so I make sure everything's completely level, and then I'll be able to tack weld in that top hoop. What I have to do is, this is the seatbelt bar, and I'll just lay that up on there where I have it marked and cut off the ends. And what I'll do is I'll use ends because it's probably gonna give me a good bit, probably like that much, and I'll take those bars and run them from here to here to strengthen it up even more. But what I'll do is I'm just going to tack everything together. I'll weld the seatbelt bar in, and that way I can set it back in the truck, make sure it'll go in with the top hoop welded in, and I'll be able to put the markings for the bolts that have to be put on the seatbelt bar for the seatbelts. So once I get everything tacked together and set in place, I'll take you back inside and show you how I'm gonna set the seatbelt bar up for its bolts. And this is basically how I set everything up to weld. I like to make templates for things. It makes things a lot easier when you're working on it. This is a Jegs roll cage for S10 extended cab, so I'm not bending all this. I'm just putting something together today that I bought, and I'll bring you back when I get to the next step. Okay, we've cut down the seatbelt bar, and we've taken it and put everything back in the truck. It's tacked to it. Let me see if I can put the light up here. See, it's tacked to it, and I have my marks marked for where the seatbelt brackets are going to go. And how I got that was I just took my T-square and set it on the bar and looked through the hole that's in the seat and marked for the center. So now all four are marked. I put both seats back in to get the proper placement, and now I'll take it out and I'll tack the roof hoop to it, and I'll bring it back in to make sure it's going to fit inside the truck all in one piece, and then I'll go ahead and weld it together. When I weld it together, I'll show you, because what you want to do is you want to weld a piece of plate or anything to the bottom bars. That way when you're doing your full welds on here, it's not going to make the bars move, and because when you're welding, you know, this far up and that far up, it's going to make that move, especially if you weld with really hot heat. So I'll show you how I do that when I come back, and so this is where we're at right now. Okay, we have the main hoop and the roof hoop out of the truck again. I'm getting ready to finish tacking it together. I put the seatbelt bar on. This is how I'm setting everything up. See, I got levels on both sides. On both sides there, and on the top. That way I can get everything pretty much level right now. And then I'm going to roll the cage over so I can tack the back side, and then I'll be able to try to stick it in the truck, and then I'll bring you back and show you what I do when I'm welding everything together. Alright, we've got our roll cage out, and I welded just tack welded a piece of bar across the bottom to keep everything straight, and then I laid it back up on my template like I had it, put my levels back on it, and started welding it solid to where I could flip it over like this. And at this point we just go ahead and weld what you got to, and it's done. Now I'm gonna take this bottom bracket off, go ahead and paint it before I put it inside, and I'm gonna put the seatbelt brackets on later. I decided I'm just going to do that later, and I mean, I should do it now, but when I ordered them, they only sent me one, so I got to make sure I got the right threads before I weld something to the bar, so I don't have to cut it off and go through all that. But this is the point we're at. Next we'll be having it in the truck, and we'll be working on the front bars. Alright, I want to bring you back in the process of painting the rear half of the roll cage. I did put the bars in like you see, and what I did was I tacked them in and I welded to one side, and once I welded to one side, this side over here, once I rolled it over like this, like it is now, sitting from the floor, that bar was an inch off the ground. So what I did was I started welding this tab on here, because I've already welded the back sides, and this brought the bar back down to where it should be. So now everything is back. Like I said, when you're welding things together, you're going to cause a lot of heat and you're going to make things move. So that's why you want to tack things together and stuff like that. But I mean, if we look on it, I'm trying to get a good view. It's perfectly straight now. Everything's good. The bar here is a 1/16 off, and you can see that in the video, but there wasn't much I could do about that. I would have had to shave it down too far. So I'm going with what I got. This is the Jigs kit, so I'm just taking the bars that I got and using them for what I need. So now the back half is together, and I've painted one side. I'm going to flip it over and paint the other side. That way, once I stick it in the truck, it's pretty much painted. Because it's going to be really hard to paint like the top half of the roll cage once it's in the truck. And so I'm trying to get everything to that point. I'm just using Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint and primer. That way I got my primer and paint, and I don't have to worry about it. And when I go back to do my final paint job, I'm adding flake and pearl to the outside of the truck. So I'll open it up and expose the roll cage, and I'll add that same flake and pearl to the roll cage. I'll just scuff it down for the paint, but that'll be when we get to that point. For now, this is the rear half of the cage. Next, I'll go ahead and tack in the rear mounts and set the cage in and go ahead and weld it in place, and then I'll be able to move on to the front part of the cage and my door bars. I ordered the separate door bars that have an angle so I can get in and out. I'm kind of wrecked up from all the speed, so I want to make sure I can get in and out nice and easy. So this is where we're at with the roll cage at this point. And next we'll come back, it'll be in the truck and it'll be welded to the floor. I'll probably bring it back to show you how I put the rear mounts in, and then we'll get on to the front part. While you have your hoop out, you want to stick a level on it and make sure you get it pretty even at this point. That way when you stick it inside the truck, it's pretty much level for you. You don't have to do a bunch of adjusting and stuff like that. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and box in the mounts. That way they're solid. And then I'll mark on the floor inside there, the center mark, and stick a magnet on it and set everything up inside. And I'll tack weld it. Most likely what I'll do is I'll get one side, like right here, a nice good tack, and then I'll go inside here and get a nice tack. And that way, once everything's welded, tacked, the front bars are tacked on, I can drop everything down and weld the fronts up by the windshield really good. And so that's where we're going next. I'll have it in the truck and weld it in. I just wanted to show you these steps. You know, get it level and make sure your mounts that you're putting in are boxed in, because if not, it don't really, I mean, the weight will crush it and make it smash if you wind up putting it on its lid. So make sure they're nice and boxed in, and I'll bring it back once I start on the front bars.